Hello everyone. As we are going through the lesson crop production and management of class 8, we are studying agricultural practices under this. Out of such, we have studied some agricultural practices, and today we'll move ahead towards our next agricultural practice. Now let's begin with this. So next agricultural practice, or one of the main practice, is adding manures and fertilizers. First of all, you all must know about manures and fertilizers, and what are these. Actually, both are the supplements or the nutrients, artificially nutrients, which are provided to the soil, and especially to that soil which is decreasing in amount of nutrients, sometimes in all the nutrients and sometimes in few or particular targeted nutrients. So let's study about that in detail properly. First of all, as we are growing the crops or the plants in a certain area or in a certain field or in a certain soil, the soil starts to lose its nutrients by the continuation of growing crops or the plants. So in that case, when you are going to cut the mature crop and you are ready to prepare the same soil or same field for the next crop to grow, that time you must know about the nutrients availability in that soil. And it is very sure that when the soil is having already one crop, and that crop to grow properly, to give good yield, is actually absorbing the nutrients from this soil. So already when one type of crop is absorbing maximum amount of nutrients from that particular soil of that field, so how can this soil be ready for the next crop with good or the right amount of nutrients, right? So this is the part of this, that how can we maintain the amount of nutrients in the soil so that the plant can show the proper growth and we can get proper result of that plant. And what is that result actually? That result is called as produce. Like we are getting grains from the crop, like we are getting some types of vegetables or the fruits from that particular crop. In that case, for the proper growth of plants, what is the must part? That is the proper availability of nutrients in that soil, so that the crop can absorb more and more amount of nutrients from that soil to sustain proper plant growth. That's why manures and fertilizers are added to the soil to increase its fertility, so that plants can absorb the amount of required nutrients and can grow more better. The minerals or the nutrients which are required by the plants are actually called as plant nutrients. I'm continuously repeating the same line, that soil is decreasing the amount of nutrients. So these nutrients are provided to the soil to make its fertility more improved, and these nutrients are provided in the form of manures and fertilizers. So whatever nutrients are provided, these nutrients are called as plant nutrients, which we will study now in a proper form. As we studied, or as we come through that, the nutrients are required for the plants. So these nutrients are called as plant nutrients. Actually, there are at least 16 nutrients which are required by the plants, and these 16 nutrients are classified into two groups. One is called as macronutrients and second one is called as micronutrients. By the term, it is very clear. Macro means more, micro means less. So all those nutrients which are required in huge amount for the crop are called as macronutrients, and on the other side, those nutrients which are required in less amount. So what are macronutrients? Elements such as carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium and sulphur. These are required in large quantity to the crop. That's why these are called as micronutrients. On the other side, like iron, manganese, copper, boron, molybdenum, zinc and chlorine. These are required in small quantities. That's why these are called as micronutrients. There are some nutrients which are directly absorbed by air and rest from soil. I think you can remember the process of photosynthesis, right? What happens in the photosynthesis? This is the process of preparation of food in the green plants. And for the preparation of food in the green plants, what things are required? Sunlight from the atmosphere the plant is absorbing. Gas that is called as carbon dioxide, that is also absorbed from air. So carbon dioxide is composed of carbon and oxygen. The formula of carbon dioxide is CO2, right? So carbon and oxygen are responsible for the carbon dioxide. So two nutrients are carbon and oxygen which are required for photosynthesis, right? Water from soil. Water is composed of hydrogen and oxygen, that is H2O, right? So ultimately these are the nutrients which are found in the sometimes in the compact form, sometimes in the natural form, in the normal form as it is formed. That's why these nutrients are used by the plant. Sometimes they are absorbed by air and sometimes they are absorbed from soil like water. Next is replenishment of nutrients in the soil. Replenishment means regain, reabsorb. If the nutrients are already destroyed or finished from the soil or decreased in the soil, what are the ways by which we can gain the nutrients in the soil again, so that the fertility of the soil can increase and we can further grow certain plants or crops or seeds into that soil so that we can get good yield. So how can we regain the nutrients in the soil? So when the land is cultivated for a long time, suppose you are having a land that grows two seasonal crops, one for 6 months, next for 6 months, complete 1 year is there, right? So you are continuously cultivating that field. You are not leaving that field free for certain period of a time, continuously cultivating that field. What will be the outcome of this? The nutrient level of the soil will decrease, right? And when the nutrient level of the soil is decreased, how can you expect that this soil is having good amount or good availability of nutrients, and whatever crop you are thinking to grow in that soil will grow in a proper format? It's not possible, right? So there are certain methods through which you can help your soil to regain the nutrients. You can prepare that soil for the next seasonal crop. What are these methods? First method is fallowing, means to leave your land remain fallow for certain period of a time. Means if you have done cultivation for one seasonal crop, आपने 6 महीने के लिए उसमें किसी क्रॉप को ग्रो कराया, उसकी कटिंग हो गई आफ्टर मैचुरेशन, नाउ द फील्ड इज फ्री, इट इज़ एम्प्टी, फिलहाल इसमें कोई भी टाइप की क्रॉप ग्रो नहीं कर रही है, राइट? फिलहाल इसमें कोई भी टाइप की क्रॉप नहीं है. In that case, what you must do? You should leave that field uncultivated for certain period of a time. Suppose for 1 month or about 2 months. हो सके तो उसे 1-2 महीने के लिए फील्ड को ऐसे ही छोड़ दो, without growing any crop or without growing any seed. This is the only method and it is the oldest method also. क्योंकि जब वो फील्ड खाली रहेगा तो उस टाइम सॉइल को टाइम मिल जाएगा अपने न्यूट्रिएंट्स को बनाने का, रीगेन करने का. And this is one of our target, right? So with the increase in population and the high demand for food grains, this method is no longer followed. This is a main problem. हमें पता है कि हमें following करनी चाहिए, but because the population is increasing at a very faster rate, the demand of food is increasing at a very faster rate, so it is not possible to leave the field for certain period uncultivated. So this is not almost followed. Second method is crop rotation. Crop rotation means growing crops alternatively, right? Each crop uses more or some elements and less of others. This is very clear, right? So alternate crops are therefore grown so that the land is not drained of any one nutrients. ठीक है? अगर किसी फील्ड में 2 सीजनल क्रॉप आप ले रहे हो फॉर फर्स्ट 6 months एंड फॉर नेक्स्ट 6 months, 2 टाइप की आप क्रॉप्स को वहाँ ग्रो करा रहे हो, तो स्टार्टिंग की जो क्रॉप आप ग्रो करा रहे हो, or you can say any of one out of 2 should be of that category. One is absorbing more and more amount of nutrients and second one is absorbing less amount of nutrients from the soil. Only in that case you can balance the nutrients in the soil as well as the nutrient supply in the crop. Okay, if you are growing a crop or one season crop in the soil which is absorbing more nutrient, so it will absorb large amount of nutrients, but as you are growing next seasonal crop that is requiring less amount of nutrients from the soil and making its own nutrients by itself, it is not totally depending on to the soil. In that case both crops will produce good yield. How? Suppose one season crop is wheat or rice which uses more amount of nitrogen from the soil, right? एक सीजन में यानी 6 months का जो सीजन होता है, एक सीजन में आपने wheat या राइस को ग्रो कराया जिसको बहुत ज़्यादा अमाउंट में नाइट्रोजन की ज़रूरत होती है. एज वी आर डिपेंडेंट ऑन ऑक्सीजन एज द प्लांट्स डिपेंडेंट ऑन नाइट्रोजन, उनके लिए भी most important nutrient nitrogen होता है. So keep this in your mind. For the next season you must grow leguminous crop. दालों वाली जो क्रॉप होती, दाल जिनको हम बोलते pulses, ठीक है? Pulses are the fruits or the result of leguminous crops. Okay, so in the second season you must grow leguminous crop. Reason? What is the reason behind it? Reason is this, that leguminous crops have the tendency to fix atmospheric nitrogen by themselves. They are not dependent onto the soil for the nitrogen. They can absorb the nitrogen by converting that atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogenous compounds by themselves with the help of their roots. So they can absorb nitrogen directly from air by converting it into soluble form. They can use that soluble form, so they are completing the requirement of nitrogen by themselves. They are not depending onto the soil. That's why this is giving the time for the soil to regain the nitrogen content or to regain certain nutrients in the soil, so that the result will be of good quality. Okay, third one is multiple cropping. Multiple cropping is in which one or more than one or 2 or more crops are grown together. आपने देखा होगा कुछ फील्ड ऐसे होते हैं, उसी फील्ड में कहीं पर एक टाइप की क्रॉप ग्रो करा दी है, कहीं पर दूसरी टाइप की क्रॉप ग्रो करा दी है, कहीं पर तीसरी टाइप की क्रॉप ग्रो करा दी है. सो दिस इज द मेथड इन विच 2 or more types of crops are grown together in the same field, so that products and waste materials of one crop can help in the growth of other. एक क्रॉप के जो वेस्ट या प्रोडक्ट्स है वो किसी ना किसी तरीके से सेकेंड क्रॉप को सपोर्ट करेंगे फॉर द प्रॉपर ग्रोथ. एग्जाम्पल इन दिस केस इज कॉटन एंड ग्राउंडनट. ओके, so this is all about by which we can help the soil to regain its nutrients. So as we started in the beginning that the most important type to support the soil or to support the crop is adding manures and fertilizers. So now we will study about manures and fertilizer little bit in detail. First of all, in manures, these are the organic substances which are formed by the decomposition of dead plants and animal waste. Manures वो होते हैं जो dead plants और animal waste like cow dung और animal dung, ऐसे dead plants से या vegetable peels, fruit peels, dead plants और animal waste से बनता है, that is called as manure. It is made up in fields because natural process है, not readily soluble in water. It does not is not soluble in water easily. It does not easily mix into the water. That's why it is slowly absorbed by the plants. Not nutrient specific means you are providing the manure to the crop. It is not providing only a certain nutrient to the crop. It may have all the nutrients in different compositions. So in that case you can say it is not providing only a single type of a nutrient. That's why it is called as not nutrient specific. It may provide more than two nutrients. Okay, may contain harmful microorganism again because it is made up of waste. That's why it may have microorganism which may harm the environment, or if they are mixed into the water bodies like nearby lakes or rivers, that in large amount, in that case they can pollute that water also. The common example of manure is compost, which is made by plant and animal waste. On the other side, fertilizers are produced by the chemical reactions in the factories. As they are produced in the factories with the help of chemical reactions, that's why they are called as synthetically prepared substances. They are also called as inorganic substances. Okay, they can easily dissolve in water, they can easily mix into the water, and as they can easily mix into the water, so they can be absorbed by the plants easily. But the important point is what? They are nutrient specific. They are provided in a particular field for particular crop for the deficiency, for covering the deficiency of specific nutrient in the soil. Suppose you are having a deficiency of nitrogen into that soil in which you are growing certain crop, so you can provide the fertilizer to that crop, to that field, to that soil which is rich in nitrogen. So these are nutrient specific, means whatever nutrient is required for particular soil, that can you provide directly in the form of fertilizers. If they are washed into the water bodies, again they are harmful to the environment because they can pollute the water, right? Examples of fertilizers are NPK, means nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, urea, superphosphate, etc. But it is suggested, please, use of fertilizer should be under control or try to avoid, because these are chemical based, so they may produce harms to the environment as well as those are using it to them also. The main ड्रॉबैक्स ऑफ यूजिंग फर्टिलाइज़र इन एक्सेस, अगर हद से ज़्यादा फर्टिलाइजर्स को यूज़ किया जाता है तो क्या क्या ड्रॉबैक्स हो सकते हैं? दे कैन चेंज द नेचर ऑफ सॉइल. इफ द सॉइल इज एसिडिक because of more amount of fertilizer, it can become basic. If it is basic, it can turn into acidic. So the main thing we should keep in mind is whatever type of soil we are having, it is supporting particular growth of crop. So the quality or nature of soil should not be changed because of the application of excess amount of fertilizers. If you are providing the fertilizer to your soil, so it should be under the control. Only provide that amount of fertilizer to the soil which is actually required, not more than that. If it is not required, so do not spray fertilizer onto the soil. Okay, next is they can suppress the activities of bacteria that fix nitrogen. I just told you about crop rotation, growing alternate crops, right? So nitrogen is the most important requirement of the plants, because with the help of this they are covering their internal recovery rate. Okay, so there are certain bacteria which are growing in the soil. So when you are applying excess amount of fertilizer, maybe this excess amount of fertilizer may stop or decrease the activity of that bacteria which is converting atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogenous compounds, or you can say soluble form of nitrogen, which plants will absorb for proper growth. Right? So in that case, fertilizer should be under control. Farmers often use a mixture of manures and fertilizer to get the advantages of both, but farmers have found certain positive things, like they use mixture of manures and fertilizer because they know excess amount of fertilizer can create problems. So they mix both of them so that the fertilizer cannot provide the negative impact onto the soil, onto the crop. But the most important thing is what? Do not touch manures and fertilizers directly through your naked hands, because they can infect you also. They can harm your body also. Okay, this is all about the agricultural practice, that is adding. Thank you everybody. Try to see this video again and again so that you can easily understand the concept. Thank you once again.